If we are going to believe in him, we have to follow his doctrine and his teachings, his commandments. Oftentimes people would make the statement, I love God. God knows I love him. He knows my heart. Well, God says, you show your love for me by keeping my commandments. That is God's definition of love for him. And see, we have to understand that because we cannot take our definition of love for God and expect God to accept our definition of love for him. That is what we call bringing God down to our level. We want God to accept what we feel is right with God. We want God to accept our stances and our beliefs when it comes to God. We cannot bring God down to our level because there is a way that seems right to a man, but the ends thereof is the ways of death. And because of that, we have to bring ourselves up to the standards of God. As Paul would say in Romans chapter 3 and verse number 23, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. The glory of God is God's moral attributes. All have sinned and fallen short of God's moral attributes. And the reason that Jesus Christ came into this world was to give us a better way in believing in him and doing just as the Gospel of John chapter 14 and verse 15 tells us. Love Jesus by keeping his commandments, bringing ourselves up to the standard of Jesus. Because when we bring ourselves up to the standard of God, then we are known as the children of God, and God will accept us and know us to be his children, and we will have the privilege of salvation. So when we look at verse number 11 again, it tells us, Jesus Christ came to his own, and his own did not receive him. Don't think it's strange that people will not receive Jesus Christ today. Because while Jesus was walking this earth, men did not receive him, even though he was in their midst. But to those who do receive God, God gives them the privilege of being known as his children. And to be known as the child of God is something that is to be held in high regard because we are going to have glory. We are going to have peace. We are going to be held as the righteousness of God if we receive God by the standards of God and not bringing God down to our standards.